Ever wonder about foster care? Hello and welcome to WJTS in.form. I'm your host, Bill Potter. Joining me in the studio, we have two folks to talk about foster care in this area. First of all, Nicole Schultz. Nicole is the supervisor at The Villages, which is an adoption and foster care agency. We'll talk more with her in just a moment. We also have with us Aaron Estabrook. Aaron is an actual foster parent, so we'll find out some firsthand experiences and why you should do that from Aaron. Well, Nicole, let's start off with really, what is foster care?
Well, what we like to say is foster care is the premier volunteering opportunity in some ways. It's because it takes such a time and commitment to become a foster parent. And what that really means is taking children into your home, possibly on a temporary basis, could be long-term. We never know the time frames of how long a child will be in your home. So that's where that commitment comes in of this is a 24/7 commitment to a child, and it's so important to have that for a family and for a child.
What's the difference between foster care and adoption?
Foster care is considered more of a temporary situation. Again, we say you don't know exactly how long that could be, but what we look at is the goal at that point in time is trying to reunify the child with their birth family. Unfortunately, that is not always possible, and we do have cases that go to adoption. We don't always know that in the beginning, but it certainly can become that. And that's adoption through the foster care system. We also do private adoption and other kinds of adoption as well.
And The Villages is located where?
We are actually a statewide agency, only based in Indiana. The closest office that we have to this area is based in Evansville, but the Evansville office serves all of southwestern Indiana, including the Du Bois area and surrounding counties.
Okay, and this may be a question for Aaron as well. Why is there a need for foster care? What creates that need?
What people don't realize is, a lot of times we see the things on the news of children being removed from their parents or parents being arrested, and people don't realize that's happening in their own community. If you look at the Indiana Department of Child Service statistics from 2013, Du Bois County alone had 58 children that were children in need of services. In 2015, what we are seeing is a record number statewide. We have a 26% increase from last year.
Wow.
In terms of the children going into the foster care system. So when people say, oh, I live in a small community or that's not happening in my area, that's not exactly accurate. It is happening. We just don't always see it, except for maybe on the TV, and that's a small portion of what's really happening.
Okay, yeah, and oftentimes we're distorted by what we see in TV shows. We think that's the way reality is, and it's not the case. But right here in our community, we have a need for foster care.
Absolutely.
And Aaron, you're a foster parent.
That's correct.
What intrigues you? Why would you become a foster parent?
It's a good question. It's a question I get all the time. It probably has to start with my wife. My wife, Tiffany, who went to Indiana University to study social work and human development studies. She has grown up with foster siblings, so her family were foster parents. She's very involved into the community, very interesting in affecting real change around her. Social worker, that's what they do. So that kind of attitude is infectious. So she brought a lot of that home and would tell me about these stories, things that are happening right here in the local community that you want to reach out and you want to help, not just say how you can help, but actually help. So that is where I would say it all started, was just through my wife, just being interested in it.
What better way to really make a difference is to make a difference in an individual or several kids' lives? Yeah,
absolutely. We're relatively new to Jasper. I grew up in southern Indiana in the Santa Claus area. My wife grew up in around St. Mildred, but we moved away. We spent some time. I've lived in New York. We lived in D.C., and we were working very interesting jobs. And you take a look at your life and you wonder, like, what am I actually doing? When we decided to move back home, one of the reasons we chose to move back home is getting closer to our community and seeing what we can do that actually has purpose. And that was something that we're really happy that we got involved with the Villages, because they are such a great group of people that they make it easy for you to get involved and to know the landscape and to see what will be required of you. And so we were really happy to get involved with the Villages.
I guess in a way it would be, if somebody's considering, it's kind of scary not knowing, because all of a sudden you're going to have a child or children in your lives,
Yeah.
and I don't know, the ages probably vary all over the place. You really have to have a big heart to be able to do that.
Yeah, one of the things that you get when you become a foster parent is you get kind of launched into a sea of stereotypes. And one of the stereotypes has to go around, like like you have to be some type of Herculean person that has a giant heart. You have to be, almost saint-like. I hear that so much, like, oh, you're such a saint. But really what it gets down to, one of the stereotypes is, these are just kids. Like when you actually interact with the children in foster care, they're not as troubled as what you might expect. Like they're just kids, and they're awesome kids. And I always tell people they do more for me than I feel like I do for them, because it's so great to see them grow and what you can actually do.
And so there is a need right here.
Absolutely.
That we need foster parents. Is there a number, like, well, right now we need 6 parents, or how does?
It's such an ongoing need. We get calls from the Department of Child Services right now almost daily, saying from counties all over southwestern Indiana, saying, do you have a home for these children? And like I said, we are seeing record numbers of children coming into foster care. So it's really just an ongoing need that is out there.
Is there, so if these kids don't have a foster parent to go to, what happens to them?
That's the difficult one to answer. Obviously, there is other agencies out there. Department of Child Services has their own foster care program. The Villages, there is some other private agencies out there. After contacting all those private agencies, they often looked at relatives first before they even contact foster care. So if there's no relatives available, sometimes honestly they have to come up with some creative solutions on, do we know a coach or somebody else out in the community? So they're doing a form of fostering. It's just considered more informal fostering than going through the official licensing of a foster parent.
But it would be great if you had foster homes in the wings ready to accept kids when you don't have that probably very often.
No, especially in this area, and that's why we really wanted to reach out to you. And getting the word out there, because we have a desperate need in this area to grow the foster care program around here. We've been coordinating with Department of Child Services and Du Bois County CASA and kind of just putting our heads together and say, what can we do to get the community interested and understand the need that is going on here?
Now, obviously there is a personal commitment that needs to be made and a change in your life, but there's also a financial commitment because it costs money to raise kids. Is there any help in that way for somebody that wanted to be a foster parent?
Yes, and what we tell people is there is a daily per diem. It kind of varies on the child's level of need, because children exposed to trauma do often have different needs. Like Aaron said, they are just kids, but honestly that can affect them in different ways. So the level of need does affect the per diem that a family receives, but every family receives a daily per diem. We ask that money be spent on the child and go to their needs, and parents are great about doing that, but obviously kids are expensive, so it doesn't fully cover the costs, but it certainly offsets a lot of that expense.
Aaron, kind of going back to something you said, I know I've heard radio PSAs on our radio stations about you don't have to be a perfect parent to be a foster parent, because kids expect you just to be normal. Really, I guess what you need to be is normal, except you have a big heart.
Yeah, I went from no kids to 3 kids, and I'm talking in a 24-hour period, wow. and that is not an exaggeration. So no, you don't have to be a perfect parent, but what you do have to be is patient. I think that's one of the most important aspects of being a foster parent is just patience. Sometimes it takes a little bit for a kid's personality and who they are to kind of really come out before you can start molding that child. So no, you don't have to be perfect, but you just have to be patient.
I tell people all the time, I think the key factors in becoming a foster parent are time, patience, and stability. And if you feel like you can provide that to a child, you can make a world of difference in that child's life.
Is there a time frame that somebody says, okay, I'll be a foster parent, but I can only do it for 6 months, or I can only do it for a month, or I can do it for 20 years? How does that work? I mean, because you're kind of making a commitment there.
Everybody's different. We have some foster parents who have been foster parents for 7, 8 years. We have some of our other offices I know that have been doing it for decades. We have some people who've been doing it 6 months to a year. People get into it for various reasons, and then obviously life situations change and people may get out of it for various reasons. It is a pretty, I won't say intense process. We try to make it as easy possible for people, but there is training, there's background checks, there's home study interviews in your home. So usually if people put the time into becoming a foster parent because of the process involved, they usually stick around for a while.
And if I can interject,
Yes.
one of the areas that we were so thankful to have the villages was based around the training. They make it so easy to become a foster parent. And I don't mean easy as in the training isn't good, the training is superb. They essentially give you a roadmap to become a foster parent, and they kind of take all the confusion out of it. So the villages is tremendous in that regard.
Well, thank you.
I'm sure that there's people who are ready to jump in and would like to do it, but I'm sure there's people who are a little hesitant. How can they get more information?
There's a variety of ways you can get information. We do have the Villages website. It's www.villageskids.org. They can also call our Evansville office. That number is 812-434-2956. Through our website, they can also do an internet inquiry if they just want to get some information mailed to them, if they're not ready to jump in and talk to anybody, if they just kind of want to get the packet and look it over. Or they can, like I said, they can call our office and we'd be happy to talk to somebody directly. We do have monthly information nights at our Evansville office where people can come down and learn more information about foster care and adoption. And those dates are listed on our website as well.
Okay, so I guess the thing is now, if you're interested, contact you.
Absolutely. We also have a Facebook page. We
Okay.
have Twitter. We have all of that. So we try to make it as easy as possible for people to get in touch with us.
And I guess if worse came to worse, they could always contact the courts, because I'm sure that they know ways to contact people too.
Like I said, we collaborate with Indiana Department of Child Services. They also need foster parents. Du Bois County CASA. They also have volunteers working with children in the child welfare system. It's a small but big world, but we all work together. So there's several people in the community that really could link you to our agency.
Well, while it may be disheartening to think that there's even the need there, it is very heartening to know that there are people like Aaron and his wife, Tiffany, who step forward and say, we want to help kids. And Nicole, thanks for the work that you do. Is there anything that you'd like to add? We just want people to know that there is a need, first of all, and then start thinking about how you can act on that need.
I would just certainly encourage people just to learn more about what is happening in their community. If you decide that foster parenting is too big of a commitment for your life at this point in time, like I said, there's many other ways to help. There is Prevent Child Abuse programs, which is also a division of the villages that people can look into. That's more of a volunteering and promoting awareness in their community. There's CASA needs volunteers. There's just a variety of ways people can help. And sometimes people like to, get their feet wet a little bit first before they jump in and make that commitment to fostering. But we just want people to educate themselves on the need in their community, because like you said, it is unfortunate, but it is there, and really it's going to take us as a community working together to combat some of these issues that are out there and help children in the process.
There's a real need. Contact the villages or another agency that can help out in some way. Think about being a foster parent. If you really want to get the scoop on it, talk to Aaron. All right, we'd like to thank our guest, Aaron Estabrook, who is a foster parent, and we'd also like to thank Nicole Schultz, who is a supervisor at the Villages. Find out more about how you can help with foster care. Thank you to our guests, and thank you for watching WJTS. We're local people watching local people.